At the end of season 3 Bridgerton, the showrunners packed a wallop of a plot twist that shocked viewers across the board, especially those who read the books. Francesca's future love interest Michael is now Michaela. Many fans were outraged that one of their favorite characters will never appear on the silver screen, but many more were scratching their heads in confusion because Michaela, at least in the framework of Francesca's book story, does not make any sense at all. But I think there is a way that the showrunners can redeem themselves and fix this plot hole issue. My name is Maddie Miss, and you're watching Ignore the Why. If you like videos like these and want to see more of them, please leave a like and comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Before we get started, I just want to preface this vlog by saying that there will be some major spoilers ahead in context of Francesca's book story, When He Was Wicked, also content warnings for death, infertility, and miscarriages. And finally, I do want to say that I do not find any issue with Michaela's character as a whole. It's just more or less the way that her presence in the show does raise a lot of questions and does create a lot of massive plot holes in the story that the showrunners are now going to have to scramble to fix. Jess Brownell is using Francesca as a self-insert character and wants to tell her love story through her by making Francesca a queer character. And normally I wouldn't mind this gender swap. However, I think it probably would have worked out better in a different Bridgerton sibling story, one that does not revolve around one of the character motivations is to have their own family. Like Eloise. Eloise actually marries into a family, into Sir Philip with love. Eloise actually marries Sir Philip, who already has 2 kids of his own. However, with Francesca's story, it does create quite a few problems. I don't think Michaela's character works very well with Francesca's story, and here's why. In her book, When He Was Wicked, Francesca is initially married to John Stirling, the Earl of Kilmartin, making her the Countess of Kilmartin. Michael, John's cousin, is Francesca's oldest companion. He is harboring secret feelings towards her, but Francesca does not feel the same way, at least not in the beginning. It is important to note that Michael is a rake and uses his sexual trysts to distract himself from his love for Francesca. He actually fell in love with her the first moment he saw her at her and John's wedding, and has basically been holding the secret crush ever since. And then tragedy strikes. In a horrible turn of events, John dies mysteriously after reporting a headache, and it's insinuated heavily that it may have been a brain aneurysm. Adding insult to injury, Francesca also loses her baby, the potential future Earl of Kilmartin, and her last tie to John. Then Michael, the new Earl of Kilmartin, stricken by grief, takes up business in India for 4 years, abandoning Francesca in his time of need. He mostly is ashamed by his feelings and his inability to comfort Francesca in this dire time. And this is the crux of the issue with Michaela. Back in the Regency era, women were unable to fulfill the title and role as head of the household when the man of the house passed away. It would always be passed down to the next eligible male relative, whether or not it's a distant cousin or their newborn son. Michaela is, as we all know, a woman. She cannot be the new Earl of Kilmartin. So, who will take John's place if Francesca loses her baby? This is a major plot hole that Brownell created when she swapped Michael for Michaela, and I'm curious to see how they're going to be able to rectify it. Also, following John's death, Francesca grows lonely and longs to have a family of her own, which is why she enters a marriage mart once again to find a husband who can serve as a future father to her children. Both Francesca and Michael return to London and find themselves drawn together once again. Michael confesses his true feelings for Francesca, who eventually realizes that she loves him too. The 2 of them eventually get married, and after many years of Francesca finally has 2 children with Michael. Which brings me to my second issue with Michaela. It goes without saying that it will be impossible for Francesca and Michaela to have a baby together for obvious reasons. Unless the show decides to take the Immaculate Conception route, Francesca is not going to be able to have the family she so desperately wants if she remarries with a woman. Michaela creates a lot of plot holes in the story, not to mention it will change all of Francesca's motivations and struggles that make her a very relatable character to readers. A lot of Bridgerton book fans enjoy Francesca's book because it deals with very serious issues readers can relate to Plus, infertility has not been explored yet in Bridgerton, and it would add a fresh new perspective to the show. Not to mention, we watch Francesca and John's love story flourish and grow for an entire season, only to have it dashed to pieces in the literal last minutes of season 3. This is what made me the most upset, not the fact that Michaela was gender swapped, but it felt like the showrunners were pulling the rug intentionally out from under the fans just for shock value. It didn't feel like a genuine character introduction, especially since Benedict, whose love story is now going to be the main focus of season 4, only got an allusion to his plotline when Eloise talks about how she will see him for the masquerade ball that his mother is hosting the next year. Why do we only get a shout out for Benedict, the new leading man's next season, and yet we got introduced to Michaela at the end of season 3? Doesn't make any sense why they would take this direction at the literal last second of the show, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. If the showrunners were going strictly by the book, Michaela does not add up as a character, but there is some paths the show could take to absolve these plot holes. And I think I have a few ideas how they can fix this Michaela-sized plot hole in the show. One way to fix the plot so that way Francesca still gets the family she so desperately desires is to not lose John's baby after he passes away. Instead, the showrunners can have her give birth to the future Earl of Kilmarn, a boy that she names John after his deceased father. This way, Francesca can secure her son and her own title, her estate, and fortune that her son will one day inherit. Then the next season can focus on Francesca's journey as a single mother, working through the grief of losing her husband, as well as trying to help raise her son into the man that will be the future Earl of Kilmartin. But this does not fix the overall infertility issue. If they want to keep this theme in Francesca's story, I think her and John's struggle to produce an heir should be the big topic in season 4. In the books, Francesca and John try for a baby for 2 years until John tragically passes away. I think this would be a good way for the showrunners to still focus on this theme and also have an excuse for Michaela and Francesca's bond to form. Francesca can confide in Michaela about her infertility issues and have their friendship strengthen and grow through this difficult time. Then when John dies, Michaela can help Francesca raise a baby so she won't be alone. Then the two can grow from a platonic love to a romantic one. In my opinion, this is the only way they can make Michaela's gender swap work, but it'll involve compromising the original storyline. Michaela won't be able to escape to India to avoid Francesca and her grief because there's no work for her in India. And Francesca will have no reason to enter the marriage mart again if she already has a child she so desperately wants. And personally, I don't really have any interest in actually seeing Francesca going through the whole searching for a husband again. It doesn't really make any sense with the character that we saw in season 3. She is so shy and reserved, and she clearly did not take any joy out of the experience. Especially if she's just going to be renamed the Diamond of the Season yet again, it'll just kind of feel like a repeat of season 3 and a bit of a waste of our time. So I would look forward to seeing a unique and different plot for Francesca, following her journey as a single mother, struggling to get by and rely on herself and her new friend Michaela in order to raise her son to be the future Earl. In conclusion, I think the showrunners really shot themselves in the foot with this change. Gender swaps can be done well as long as they make sense with the story or even elevate the original material. The only show that I have seen that's done something like this successfully is The Boys. Multiple characters are gender swapped from their original comic book personas, and it makes even more sense with the story. Not to mention the gender swaps actually make the character motivations even more compelling, adding more nuance and gravitas to characters and their decisions that they make in the show as a whole. Michaela could work in a similar way where she could be a foil or a mirror to allow Francesca to discover a part of herself she never did before. But the showrunners are going to have to put a lot of time and energy into getting the story right. They took a huge gamble with this drastic change to the story, and this could be a make or break for the franchise as a whole. If they don't go above and beyond with the Michaela Francesca love story, I don't see how Bridgerton will ever recover, especially since many fans have sworn off the show due to the disappointment that was season 3. And since it is only renewed for one more season so far, it is safe to say that Bridgerton might be on the chopping block if they do not redeem themselves in this upcoming season. Personally, I don't think that introducing Michaela at the very end of season 3 was a very smart choice for the showrunners. It kind of came across as like a publicity stunt or a jump the shark moment. Representation across all forms of media is important, but when writers use it just to check off a diversity box, it can come across as patronizing and insincere. Michaela's introduction into the series does not feel empowering. It feels forced and hollow, which makes me upset because I would love to see a queer romance in the Bridgerton canon series. We got to see a little taste of this in Queen Charlotte, but I would like to see one of the Bridgerton siblings settle down and find love outside of the traditional Regency era role. To me, Michaela feels like a Bridgerton's jump the shark moment. It feels more like a publicity stunt the writers pulled to stay relevant and shocking in a world overpopulated and oversaturated with countless forms of entertainment. And it's a real tragedy because this could have been a genuine love story between two women, and now it just kind of makes me feel a little bit indifferent towards them. For those of you who are unaware of what jump the shark means, jump the shark is a term that originates from the Happy Days episode when the Fonz literally jumps over a shark as a water ski stunt. The showrunners at the time wanted this scene to help the show regain its relevancy and return the show to its former glory, but it proved to have the opposite effect. This stunt marked the slow descent of the show's quality and its ratings. Suffice to say, Happy Days met its unhappy end. Other examples of shows jumping the shark include Joey and Rachel's relationship in Friends, Matthew's death in Downton Abbey, the plane crash in Grey's Anatomy, and Roseanne winning the lottery in Roseanne. Also, April's introduction in Gilmore Girls in season 6. Whenever shows jump the shark in their own special way, it's usually a bad omen, a sign that the quality is deteriorating and or drastically shifting from what made it great in the first place. And I think this is what Michaela represents for the Bridgerton show. I feel like the writers inserted Michaela into the last few moments of season 3 all for the sake of intrigue, but it is backfiring in a major way. But a lot of the book fans who enjoy the original material are more upset not because of the queer romance in general, but just because it drastically changes the book they actually like. As a book to screen adaptation purist myself, I have to agree. The gender swapping of Michael's character doesn't work in the context with Francesca's story. The showrunners could pull it off, but seeing how they really fumbled the ball with Penelope and Colin's love story, I don't have much hope for them here. Feels like they rushed through Pauline's story to get to the one Jess Bronnell actually cares about. We could see this with how much time Jess Bronnell and her team decided to focus on Colin and Penelope in their complete lack of screen time in their own season that was dedicated to Benedict's threesome, Francesca and John's story, which admittedly I actually enjoyed, and also the Mondricks. Personally, I don't really feel emotionally connected to Michael as a character as a lot of other fans are. I personally was way more interested in Francesca's journey with infertility and her desire to have her own family. I think this should be the main focus of her character in the next season. And I don't mind her and Michaela having a friendship that could turn into a romantic one over time. I just think the show needs to focus less on the drama and focus more on a slow build romance, one that actually gradually grows over time and is more genuine and sincere than a lot of the other ones we have seen, where they kind of just went from 0 to 160 seconds. Ignoring the blatant bigotry, homophobia, and racism, there are a lot of actual criticisms that Bronnell and her team need to listen to in order to keep their loyal fan base. Personally, I think that the Michaela character can work in the context of Bridgerton, but there are going to have to be some very drastic tweaks and changes that they make to the show as a whole. I think my main concern overall is just trying to be as loyal to the books, not compromising the original material, and keeping the book fans happy. Of course, you're not going to be able to make every single fan 100% content. That's just the unfortunate thing with shows like this, but I think ultimately that the showrunners can make this work. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about Michaela's character and what Season 4 is going to look like. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Have a great day.